The Institute for the Study of Peak States presents the first International Psychoimmunology and Psychobiology Research Symposium. Eliminating the Selfishness Ring, presented by Lorenza Meneghini.
And so as we talked about, we've got another example of one of our certified therapists doing some research. So Lorenza is an Italian-Australian therapist and has been part of the Institute since 2011 and is also part of the clinic team. She has a background in EFT, family constellations and mindfulness. She's the author of many of the drawings of the most recent Institute books. As an English teacher for kids and young adults with learning difficulties, she is finding creative and playful ways to address the causes of those difficulties. Above all, she is a happy wife of an Argentinian boy, a cat lover, and a self-taught gardener. Lorenza, over to you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Daniel, for sharing your project. My project, well, the project I'm going to present today is a little bit different. So you could see the structure that Daniel and his team followed for us was a little bit different. So last year in August, during our annual therapist meeting, we were asked to point out what were our areas of interest and what we would like to work on if there was a chance to do some applied research projects. So there were different topics on the board, and some of us put their names on, next to projects that we would like to be involved with. And a bunch of us were keen to see if there was a solution to a problem that is known as the pain body or armor. So different philosophy name them differently, and they have different views of them. There were already some theory behind that in the Institute. So we also had a good starting point from another research session. And so it was very different than the one that Daniel did. So we already had a starting point. It was pretty clear that it could that could be the solution for our questions. So we gathered around September, and we started this applied research project. We were 6 people involved, and the hint was that by healing the selfishness ring, we could also resolve the other structure, the pain body. So what is the selfishness ring and what is the pain body? And how do we experience them in our daily life? Because that's the most important thing for us, to actually evaluate how we feel these structures. It's not just like somebody that can say to you, yeah, oh, you don't have, or you do have this pain body, or you do have this selfishness ring, or you don't have it. But how can I feel it in my daily life, and how can I perceive the difference from before and after treatment? So the selfishness ring is a structure that we have inside our nuclear core, and it surrounds the torus, and it is created at birth. It causes people to limit their experience of all the altruistic feelings. So the people with this structure act in a very self-serving way. Most have this ring. Most people have this ring. But they don't realize that this is a problem. Sometimes they can have it only on one side, so paternal or maternal side, and so sometimes they act very in a very selfish way. Sometimes they are very altruistic. So it is also a spectrum disorder, which means that some people have it very badly, and some others don't have it all, and they are the lucky ones. And in between, there is a completely different range of symptoms. And usually people don't come to therapy saying, hey, I'm a very selfish person. They usually, they don't see it as a problem, and they might have issues with others, and the others perceive these people's selfishness, but it's very rare that they come to therapy because of this issue. Usually it's when you want to or you start looking at your personal growth and spiritual growth, that you might find yourself feeling a little bit selfish. And when you actually want to feel stronger positive feelings, you want to heal this structure. Then we have the pain body, and the pain body is like an armor that encases our body, and it causes rigidities in some areas, and then I'll explain this later. And it can be felt as stiff bends in some parts, and we enclose our bodies with our unresolved traumas, and sometimes we prefer to live through this instead of being ourselves, and instead of facing our traumas. And they are in this pain body. It's like our scars from the past traumas. It is a restriction and also a block to the free flow of energy. And but it is also a defense mechanism. So we have this armor, and we try to defend ourselves so we don't feel more pain or other pain. And this one also causes us to act through our traumas and through routines instead of being creative. So at this point, I want also to add that the causes of our selfish behaviors could also be biographical or inherited traumas, body associations, copies, parasite interactions, and the list goes on. So it's not only about the selfishness ring. It can be caused by other things. So at this point, our team decided to create a before and after treatment assessment, so we could go back and measure our symptoms and then go back when we end the process. So we started by experiencing the selfishness ring kinesthetically. So we actually pushed ourselves to really feel very intense, good emotions, and being really altruistic and do good for others. And we measured our restriction in our bodies. And so some experienced of being really squeezed in the body, especially around the solar plexus area and the belly area, some on the chest. And some people felt jealousy and envy, especially when related to money or to success or other people's success. And also there was somebody reported some suffocation. We also tested the level of aliveness in our whole body. If we felt that some parts of our bodies felt separate, or that we could not feel much in that area. If some parts of our bodies felt stiff or had a lack of flexibility or aliveness, where we checked where our center of gravity was, how much present we were, how much grounded we felt. And if we had issues experiencing positive emotions, or if it was hard for us to feel or to retain some peak states. And then we also checked our kinesthetic perception of this so-called pain body. And of course, there were different answers. Some people perceived more or less of this pain body or the aliveness. Some people experienced some separation or difficult to contact some parts, some stiffness in areas of our body. Some felt the bends on the body to a certain extent. So some felt it thinner, thicker, more or less, and some actually didn't even feel that they had some, or they actually felt that they had none of it. Some of us said that they had problems feeling the states they had, or accessing their abilities. Other didn't have any issues related to feeling positive emotions or retaining a peak state. So after that, we also listed our selfish, jealous, self-centered, ego, manipulative, stubborn behaviors that we could detect, or that others had given some feedback on. It's sometimes seeing these things in ourselves is very hard. So asking our relatives or partners were actually useful here. So on this last one, the behaviors and feelings were being jealous of other people's success, feeling a little bit manipulative, stubborn, and achievement focused, not being responsible for oneself, and also there was a little bit of selfishness about earning money. So I'll tell you a little bit about how was my experience. So I felt some restrictions and suffocation on the body when I was perceiving the ring, and it was quite perceivable. And I perceived the pain I had on the head, on the forehead, on the neck, and I think it was very clear on the diaphragm area. And interestingly, my legs and feet were kind of not alive. They were like down there. I couldn't feel them very well. And it was very interesting to feel, because I never paid so much attention to that. And I didn't feel that much alive. And what we decided to compare was, being alive as much as what. So maybe not as alive as a dead leaf, or as alive as a very young and playful kid. So that was kind of the scale that we decided to refer us to. But that was just a help, to perceive how much alive we were. And in that moment, unfortunately, it was actually not very well, and I didn't feel alive at all. It was like a 4 out of a 10. And then regarding the being selfish, my behaviors were interesting as well. So I felt envious when people were talking about their spendings, their holidays, their houses, their car, and it felt kind of weird when they were saying something. I wasn't joyous about what they were feeling or enjoying. And I often had the belief that my husband had to support me financially in every area of my life. And sometimes I felt very stubborn when I knew I was right and the other person didn't want to believe me. And when I was fixed on some ideas, I was really, really stubborn. And this is just really funny. So I love cooking. I love sharing food. And it's just me and my husband, and I've got 2 plates in front of me, and I cooked a beautiful pasta with beautiful sauce, like Italian, Italian style. And I would serve one and the other, and I was dividing them, and I was looking, this is my plate, and my plate needs to be absolutely the best. And I was looking at myself, like catching these thoughts, and why do you do that? You really love your husband. Why would you not share with them the beautiful food you had? So that I would stop and say, okay, let's share. But it was really painful for me to do that. So this is the before the process. So what did we do then? We held a particular early developmental event, and that was the hint from the research team and from Grant and his team. And but we did it only on the paternal side, because we thought that was enough. So when and we heal this developmental event with regression and generationals, body associations, and also I think there were time loops to check as well. So after we healed the whole process, which was it took us about probably a couple of months to actually finish, to catching up, and we were like in different areas or in different states and different countries on this planet, so different time zones. It was kind of difficult to catch up altogether. So it was about probably December when we finished, and we rechecked our symptom list, and we noticed that most of our markers changed. So the ones that were negative diminished. The positive ones, like being more present in the body and more alive, actually increased. And my experience was that I felt much more alive. It was like around a 7 or 8, and I felt less restricted in my body, and I could perceive my legs. Now my legs were mine, and they were not just a part of something attached to my body. And I felt my selfish behaviors diminished a lot. And even if I still have some of my behaviors to a low degree, of course. And one very interesting thing that happened to me was that as soon as I finished the 3rd round and I was completely CPL, my husband started to be very supportive, and he was gifting me things that before they were just unreal. And so he was really different. So I changed and he changed, and he still is this way, by the way. And serving the best part of the dish actually is still there, but sometimes it doesn't even happen. Like, it's just go. I don't even think about it. So it reduced dramatically. So as I already said, though, the selfish behaviors can come from different causes, and they're not only from the selfishness ring. So maybe some more healing can be done on these ones. So some of the restrictions, especially on this cage that we felt around our bodies, didn't go away. And none of us after the treatment zeroed the restriction or of the ring or the pain body. So we were really hoping that just doing one side, in this case the far side, would do the work, but it wasn't enough. And unfortunately it didn't work out the way we wanted to. And the problem is that the other side is a no, and it involves big risks, and we are not allowed to do any applied research on that. So we need to wait until the research team finds a solution for these big risks. So in that case, we will be absolutely sure, and of course after the test, that this is the process to heal and to get rid of the structures. In conclusion, our project was successful, partially, because getting rid of the selfishness ring gave us a bit more freedom, and it kind of expanded the overall life force energy, and it stimulated vitality and health, even if not to the fullest. So this is my description of what we've done. And so I've done my speech, and if anything, anybody wants to ask me a question, I will be happy to answer if I can.
Okay. Thank you very much, Lorenza. So I've got a question from Julian Rue then. So what is the link of the selfishness ring and the armor bands? Are they separate issues then?
From what we've discovered, no, they are actually the same. Not the same, but they by healing the selfishness ring, you can heal the pain body bands. This is what we have found, because the bands reduced a lot by just doing one side.
Okay. Well, at the moment we don't have any other questions, and I guess partly. Oh, wait a minute. Rightio. So, question from Dr. Mary Pellissier: how does what you found relate to other modalities, for example, de-armoring?
Well, we talk about more or less the same thing, like the armor that we were healing, and the ones that we can see in the shamanic de-armoring are very similar, but we are not sure we are talking about the same thing.
Okay, great, thank you. We've got a question from Antonella Ercolani. Hi, Lorenza. So now you feel less restriction only on your right side, given you only did the process on one side?
I actually didn't pay attention to that, honestly, because we were actually hoping that it would just get rid of it altogether. No, it actually reduced on both sides as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is interesting, of course, for us, yeah.
Well, yeah. So I think there's going to be information from some interest from a number of other certified therapists wondering when they can actually try this out as well. So we will communicate that to them.
Absolutely.
So maybe time for one more question. So Kathy Kelly saying, I may have missed this, but did your husband do the work too? So she's saying this relates to the presentation I did. When one person heals, how can it affect the other person? Or just one person healing, is there some response change from them?
Well, I like to quote Grant here. I think in one of his books, he says that people take on some roles in our lives to show us our problems, our defects, our issues, and they take on these roles for love. And I think my husband was showing me this difficulty to be open to give me, and when I healed my own stuff, he didn't have to do it again because it wasn't necessary. So Alberto didn't do any work. I just did the work, and it changed.
Great. We've probably got time for one last question from Sonia Walcott. Hi, Lorenza. How did you distinguish between crown brain structures versus body pain?
This is a good question. Let me tune into it. The bands are in certain parts of the body, and they feel that they constrict you and they are stiff, while the structure, the crown brain structures, they can be anywhere in the body. They can also be in those parts as well, but they are sharper and they go away also with our techniques, while bands don't. This is my take on this. Mm-hmm. Because I've never explored, healing the bands or the pain body by itself.
Yep. And then the last question from Antonella Ercolani. I guess not because it wasn't talked about, but was there any Gaia communication improvement from eliminating the selfishness ring?
Not that I know of.
Was it specifically measured or monitored as to whether there was any change in that?
No, we didn't. No. We actually didn't even think about it, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's a good question, but we're not aware of whether there was any change to that.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you very much, Lorenza. And time for our next speaker.
Thank you for watching. For more information, please visit www.pigstates.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel.